上元的感觉开别逐渐中观，路上特别小不拉说完的妹妹这边的人，前面前边往本上边，对我马脸中在上元。感觉开别逐渐中观，路上特别小了说完，旁边这边喇嘛人不，大说几乎人变的点数，高的前边过年结束，不送头巾我住再多。旁边这边喇嘛人不，大说应该人变的点数，高的前边过年，桥上推门我住再多。旁边这边喇嘛人不，大说应该人变的点数。高的前边过年结束，常住的门入，马上就没写了马日，马街忙个南给我说让你一起去游，都说也为用。查在路的要他高的巴拉三个不的也说好的要他高的巴拉三个不的也说好。的要他高的巴拉所好给了东的家属希望，没得你别见到这我听不入心大学点家。所行别业，就业面多，让所见中能了，将就帮助当年教授，大概去人结缘所能见，着了边界上见着把了修，所见中能了，将就帮助当年教授。大概去人结缘所能见，着了边界上见着把了修。所见成能了，将就把多。大约是结为所能见，着了非是着把修，是不是他们这都在那那么？让他把做不上以后，马上不是那个，他把这地下的他们修3年，可能小就是什么事情在但什么事情。 let me remind every one of ourselves to take a moment and cultivate the highest form of motivation. We call it Bodhisattva motivation, or the altruistic motivation, seeking complete enlightenment for the sake of all other sentient beings. With that kind of at least contrived altruistic bodhicitta motivation, we should all participate in this Bodhisattva's discourse on the perfection of wisdom gone beyond. So where we left off in this guide called Bodhisattva Avatar, or the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life by Bodhisattva Mahasattva Shantideva, is dealing with reasonings to establish non-true existence or emptiness of true existence.
Sumba gaja goji tenzi sheva so doja sengme tenzi sheva tenzi chemu tenzi sheva yume jengo gu tenzi sheva usi tenjeru sheva wo tangbo le she se yume le jawa gawa tabe jele jawa gawa se yume le jawa gawa tongdu 니가 내려가 봐오스. 어다 제리 거제데 사실은 지다서 용자가 된지 되면데 되는 가지 셔고서. 저 그래서 내가 제소만아 시해 somos dois metentes tem que 유미제고 된식시 에네 지들이 된식시 무식제고 사요 디레지 지다 차샤도 가시고 저다 데 somos 시비도 지다 디셔야 되다 디 루지리 버셔야 돼.
예, 텐데 텐지체로 와게. 유메 경고 텐지체로 와게. 시드르 텐지체. 무시 경고 텐지데 도저 세메 텐지 말아.
라.
무시 경고 텐지데 도저 세메 텐지데 지고 말게.
뭐 다들 유메 경고 텐지야죠.
라마 유메 경고도 디스로와게. 시드르 숨로와게. 아니 무시 경고 시로와게. 무시 경고 세다 도저 세메 텐지 지고 말게.
도저 세메 텐지 피지카레. 도저 세메 텐지 타이 자고 버리고 들어. 유명해고서 기들이 도다봐요. 주식을 주고는 이제야지 주요하지.
말게 유명해고도 디스케로와게. 텐데가 숨바게. 텐데가다 텐데 어서도 건다. 가서 이번 가서로와게. 텐데 텐지체로와게. 유명해고 텐지 카가체로와게. 시들이 텐지 카가체로와게. 무식경고 텐지 카가로와게. 나 참아서 무식경고다 도저 생만이 찍어로와게.
무식경고도 좀 말해.
알아.
무식되고 사대 빨리 이것이 도다음에 동시 뭐 주시 코나를 유드는 요뭐 유드 매번 매기서 하셔로
로소게
텐데 도시 세메데스 하더라
알아 로소
텐데스한테 타이 저하고 그리고 도시 세메데스 해야지
로소 하나 무식경고 다시 겨하고 받아 알아 도시 생마 So as we deal with different reasonings to establish emptiness of true existence, the five most prominent reasonings and analysis talked about in the Buddhist texts are, of course, the analysis and reasoning of pratit samutpat or dependent arising, Tyndall, right? And then there is the reasoning of singularity and plurality or reasoning of oneness and differences, same thing. Chikturege Tenzi in Tibetan. And then there is the Yume Kyangwa Tenzi, the reasoning of refuting, literally translating here, existence and non-existence. Okay, but those requires explanation. Yume Kyangwa Tenzi in Tibetan. And then there is the Mushi Kyangwa Tenzi, the reasoning of refuting 4 modes of production. Okay. And then there is the reasoning of Dorjee Segma, Vajra prompt reasoning. Yeah, so these are the 5 prominent reasonings analysis used to establish non-true existence or emptiness of true existence.
What the Demetrius Karkun and Jigorwada, the moment the US is not Jigor Karsi, Shiva is the Jigor, that the Quakon, Takoran, the Zoo, the Demi, Yavata, Direct, Zoo, the Shaman, Namji Yuralata, or Mother President of Coachna, Tenzin Dorjee, the Chanta, Tina Zoo, the Tiani, that there's some of the shame.
There's some shade that get 10 days. There's some shade 10 days.
There's some shade that they do. Those are some meetings. They go to the road. They did the share. You make them what they said.
The deal and a gate and the sheriff within us go again. Sheriff within us.
Oh, this was that. The Jews got to get some of the here.
So Geshe says that, of course, we can find, multiple reasons to establish emptiness of true existence, right? For example, we can say that X does not exist truly, right, because it exists. That could be. But then why, these 5 reasonings are kind of highlighted is because the belief is that every one of these really has the ability to sort of help us, if you will, understand the emptiness of true existence like better, so to speak, right? That has that ability. Otherwise, we can say that something doesn't exist, whatever that something is, does not exist truly because it simply exists. We can say that. But then but whereas if we say something doesn't exist truly because it's dependent arising, then the dependent arising reasoning, right, it has that sort of how should I say, the ability to help us understand the emptiness better. So that being said, so in this chapter on the wisdom gone beyond, in the guide, among these 5 analysis or reasonings, only 3 are dealt with or mentioned. And the 3 are the reasoning of dependent arising, Pratitsamutpad, and then the reasoning of refuting or the existence and non-existent production, existent and non-existent. You may go in Tibetan because I will repeat the Tibetan terms, right? So that may be more accurate. And then Vajra prompt, Dorjee Segme reasoning, Vajra prompt reasoning.
What did the Juju Kono John Zege, Juju Sherry, John Yokono, Lord Sindre Mugoshe, Tongation laws of Chikido, Tibetan of the Sumta, Tenzin did some of the Mishemida. The Bakora Bonsi Bashen, Sindre here, Southern Chick. Internet here, the country source, Chidim source, Sindre Mugoshe, Southern that Gomora, the Jewish my hair.
Alidina or so. That is Sindre the Tendenica shadow.
That the Sindre Jawara. That is Sindre, that the Russia Sindre Mixer Mugoshe. And you don't know that he Gomora the Jewish my hair.
So this extensive commentary Geshe is using to explain this guide, and particularly this wisdom chapter, it actually seems to focus more on the concepts or the meanings, right, rather than more of the words, right? We could have commentaries that explicate the words and then explicate the meanings, but this one is more seems to be focused on explaining the concepts or the conceptual meanings, let's say. So the way it is explained in this particular commentary, it really matches with what is explained in the Kongpa Rapsel, the clearly elucidating the thought commentary. Okay? Yeah.
What the Karsa that is because he was so much the whole you may jog up was that is large. Then that way you jog up was you may jog up a tone do say. You got a jog up was. No, that he got jog up with the roti that the she is. That you may guess that the young women give you to get your mother. That bad you'll jog that be the Hashi. You may jog up to say, do the uncle was that you may jog the shiro do that jog with the sons or take about touching songs, take a tone to say, but she said, Tone, you got a jog up was. You got jog up was at the Carso. Did the mendo. The same you got jog up was said in
디게 도저 생매 된 공도를 베게.
라.
단다 숨데 도저 생매기 공도를 베.
다다들에도 당벌 시에서 유미죠. 그래도 때리에 된 공주이지.
알아.
네가 때리에 누구로 때리에 된 som시다 다 때리에 된 당벌을 가져서 시에서 유미죠가 뭐시. 근데 답을 줘가 뭐시. 유미죠가 뭐시. 어디도
시간에서 괜찮 참았어. 규매를 제와가고 답에 줄을 제와가고 니가를 제와가고
어때지 당벌 싫어 당벌 싫어 다들 때리듯이 싫어 규매를 제와가고 답에 줄 제와가고 규매 가서 가봐 규매 가서 규매 제와가고 통지시 니가 제와가고 하세 어디로
Okay, I think anyway we'll go through this series of this, right? Because Geshe said 4 and I don't get a 4, and I asked and I still don't get a 4. So, but it doesn't matter. As we go through the text, we will have to go through the 4. So part of this whole reasoning is one is refuting how things cannot arise without causes, isn't it? Right. So refuting the notion that something can come about without need for a cause. So that concept is being refuted. That's one. Okay. The second one is among many non-Buddhist schools of thought, the classic example who subscribe to that particular notion is we call Charvakas or Gyangtenpa in Tibetan, right? Who footnote don't believe in anything beyond what exists, right? So they said things can arise without causes. So that notion is refuted, one. And then there are more schools there who assert that things are produced from a permanent cause, right? So that notion is accepted by a number of schools. And so that is the second one being refuted. Then the third one is that things are produced from both, meaning things produced from both self and others, right? That notion is being refuted, and the fourth will show up somewhere, I think.
that tambo de shishe karsa tiga tongdo washe da niga jaga washe tambo ne rishi so gangba jek den study tel tambo del ya karsa Gyume Jaga Hotel, ya, Zawadi, second years, tell us that Yangbe Batavi said, Gyume Jia Mazune, Nisha Shu told you Baba Tang. Sendum Sema Suru Noa Tang. Mazen Dongze Dong Li La So Chonu Kun Sujamashi Go Yili Shong. On Shebatar Semen Dubuso Gashike Ben Sheba Madon Teda Sheba Teda Madon Teda Sheba Sheba Busujang Mashishin Jumeba se Go Yili Shong. Shung Jumeba Go Yili Shong, you know, he said. That Jamuda did a concert. You may get the carriers and any test that they cause it does it. Did it do? You shall say, because Shu told you Baba, she told you Baba, and you must have so you make two cards. Then you go to send them the Tamari Yorba, somebody didn't do shit. And the same man no. Semak nobody go, Shinkara Jandia, Yum the Jam, he's got no so as I go. How to say, Semen Noata Margin do la sock bars, Lola sock bar. So, Shunam Gun, Suja Mashi, she go in Mele, go in Shung Shiba, that Semen Dubuso. Gashi ki ben Shiva Matowe, Teta Shiva Shiva Suja Mashi, Jumba, Goy the Show and he says, did a concert. Said that in Maja did the concert that she did it. Zunjung May was that. So the Zunjung said, Young Zunjung May said, Zunjung said the council said the Zunjung Sigma. Long. People saw you said, depending on the Joseph said, this in the court, Zunjung Lagava. Taco Rera can't use Karis sort of the Tawago jet because Zunju Jamara, Judy or the jet, Zunju Gamara, give us some way of Mara. Of course, these are true tell us the guys are. No, sir. She had a semen debuta, what the semen no see so gay of Marias. She called Jimmy Jarris, or this or that. Some of them are over this.
So based upon what Kesla explained, I think we are, those of you who have Stephen Batchelor's translation of the guide, we are on page 169 and at the bottom part there. And so we are dealing first with, asserting that things could arise without causes. Okay? And Charvaka is a non-Buddhist school of thought, who believes in that and who assert that you don't need causes to produce things. Things can arise without causes. I think they, as I explained, they are really confused with two things, right? Generally speaking, we know that Tsuljung means something that comes out of efforts. Right, making this table or whatever things are produced through efforts. And then there are things which are not results of efforts, like mountains, right? And so they think, wow, that's really natural, nobody created it, right? So they got kind of have a confusion with regard to these different categories. So they assert that, things could arise without causes. And they give you many examples of this. So the first one is they said, well, look at the sun. It rises, right? Nobody is making sun rise from the east. It just rises by itself, effortlessly kind of thing. And so there's no cause for the sun to rise, but it just rises. It's a natural phenomenon, right? And another example, they say, look at the waterfall. You know, it just falls down, right? Nobody is causing the water to fall down. It just falls down, you know, flowing down. And then they said, look at the roundness of the piece, right? Nobody is kind of making the pea round and polish it. It's just round by itself. There was no cause for that, you know. And look at the thorns. Thorns are very sharp. You know, nobody is sharpening the thorns, right? They just grow like that. That's just natural. There's no cause for that, right? And look at the beautiful feathers of the peacock, right? Nobody is designing and painting and the peacock's feather. That's the way it is, right? So with those many examples, Charvakas say that things could arise, you know, without, you know, causes. No.
What did you go see the Karizana River number? Maya, Rishi Musum, you knew go did Chidoshanada Park Musum, you did about the River Kago, Marva.
No.
The Musum, you did Majo, the River Kago, said the Tanda and me say Ribago, Mars, Musum, knew and Musum Gagari, that about the tea or Then go about the Rigbenam Maya, Regio Musum, go this. Jigde Jotagi, Musum J. Soba Shenaki, Robo Pezawala. Geshe Jim Munjawa, Yeva Nama, Tamji Tone. Sabun Debala Soba, Dribuche, Shawa Jaja, Soba Shiva Yina. Jumil Jawada, Rigbe Nam Kasa Nam Tamji Tone, Sabon Devara Soba, Drivu Shedu, Shawa Jaja, Soba Shibaina, Jumil Jawada, Rigbe Namja Shenji, never Mase Musu Sheja Nudos. Rita Zugu Nosu Nord, Jumil Jawina, and Jideba Hingbat in the Suena Becale Javni. Shingatap Shudi, Lu Jashi, Kalisho, Dalia Hashi, Kampa Jamnada, Ganga Jibu Bezon Shingo, Shadati, Jumil Jai and the Bezon Shigo Marvas. And give to the bay, Shingataba, Singlela, so the bay, Kalia Jarama Jan Shiduas. So this way, tell ya Rigwa Gomers, Jidiba goes to the Muslim need the guy, the Muslim gear to do so the cover. That was a shitty day, Rakarza. Muslim youth, Gaga, River Maris, Muslim go to race. That was the youth much of the Darden, yeah, the water Dada, is yet I need to Jidan to the Hura.
No.
She said, they're going to some Shantideva.
No. So Charvakas says that things could arise without, you know, causes, and we give you a number of examples. And Madhyamigans, the middle way philosophers or the proponent, they said, you know, your position is untenable because I don't even need to use reasonings to refute your case, because based upon the direct perceptions, right, people know that things arise from different causes, you know. This is something people can directly experience by themselves. Why do farmers work so hard to toil the field and put seeds and then water the thing and grow? Because they know, right, to cultivate crops, they have to plant the seeds, you know. It's something directly experienced. So anything that we can directly experience, we never needed any kind of reasoning. Because, right, anything that is of direct experience nature, right, does not require any kind of like a deeper analysis of reasonings, logic here. And so look at people like who are constructing houses, right, and how much effort they have to put, what materials they need to use. So all of these things are causes required to build a house. So you can see that, you know, sort of with your naked eyes, and there is no need for a reasoning. So it seems like Madhyamika said, kind of it's easy to deal with, you know, your assertion here. But as we, you know, describe in Buddhist texts, that all phenomena are not necessarily in a manifest form, that you could experience them with your direct perceptions or experiences. They are what we call concealed realities of phenomena. Tibetan word is kokgyur, right? Hidden or concealed one. And so those hidden realities, really, we can only access them through inferential reasoning and inferential cognition. That's why we need logic and reasonings. But even among those concealed realities of phenomena, there are two kinds. Those that we can establish through the power of what we call Ngotapki Rigpa, the power of, like, so to speak, what would we like literally translating, so don't take my literal until we get some explanation, hopefully down. The power of facts and evidence kind of thing, right? By the power of facts and evidence, we can prove that something exists logically and inferentially. But then there are realities we cannot establish through the power of facts and evidence, but through the power of what we call conviction in the truthful words, right, of enlightened beings. That's in my footnote category, that we can establish those realities. But your assertion is not a hidden, concealed phenomena reality, so we give you a bunch of direct experience examples, and that should sort of like take care of it.
Oh, there, that's true. You get that. True, do the more the yard or more, but you hear the something I hear. That picking on the hero, no guitar. Dinner that do shoot that you may jam or young person or did you what it is. The most of the heroes, they said, tell you any regard mix it with him, do see regard more there. They go most of you saw them, but Rabdat, most of you there, yes, in the court, tell you, Sabado, regard on the Shia Yomara. Most of us, that is not the Jin Zabshar, Tera, most of them gay us, she has Zabshar to this one.
So in the Buddhist metaphysical texts, as we deal with non-Buddhist schools of thoughts or the assertions of the tenets, different classification systems are used. Sometimes they will talk about 11 different non-Buddhist schools of thought. Sometimes they might say there's a 3, sometimes there's a 4 or 5. It's just a matter of classifications, how to do all of those things. But among non-Buddhist schools of thought, Charvaka, Gyangpenpa, right, they are, how should I say, they kind of stand out, among the non-Buddhist schools of thought, because they only believe in what they can see directly, and they don't believe in anything beyond our direct experience, right? In my footnote, they don't believe in life after, they don't believe in anything, right? Whatever it is here, it is here. Okay? So that's why they said things could arise without causes, and Madhyam Beacon says that, well, we can actually show you, right, how things are coming out of causes, right? We can just, and there's no need for reasoning. Even reasoning, right, is of no use when something you can directly show to the people, right? The ones that look, farmers are planting seeds, and they will cultivate the field, it will grow, so that's the way Madhyam Beacons are refuting their assertion.
What is that? Today, you to see that yet. Geshe was a Goma to the Semosado, or to the Chanja to the Seado, and Tigui to the Seados, Sabin to the Euro, the Jevados Goma to the Jero, the Hewell. So that's to the Lardas to the Mamoyer. So that she would do what the Yabo shares on. This word that comes here. She would do the Yabo share and call Yams layout on the Maridi. She would do that the Yabo share, now where do that the shares on. Any number do that she would do well to do some payment of the Kaya with the and Dangamal of the share to wear. So the moon is the Dago, number do the Cabar the Yabo Maja, she would do a Majana. And Nambaya is in a 6 of them. Shira Pendo Shiraya Mara.
No, son.
She had a go Döbaya bu şey ne to dorsana en karsa hin tebato chiru juda labya del ya nangbes juda le sanji le yishe ja donda insta yoma shiwa bagdona karsa mudu namji shunglo sita saban namzo te sita da gojola da le yin teba churus. This was the two reject this do. Shiru juda zol Kazil the Lord of Jeva Kazil Krishna. And this Jeva Shiva Tsuti, Ganga Sanjali, Jeva share do this. What the go at her?
So as Krishna said, that if something can be demonstrated directly, so to speak, right? And normally people should not go against a direct experience of perceptions, right? And if somebody does that, that's a really serious matter. You know, serious in the sense, in my footnote, you better check your brain or something. Usually I didn't say that. Because going against direct experiences, something is going on with you there. So, I mean, of course, different schools of thoughts and tenets are not that easy to understand. And there are many treatises dealing with them. But among them, perhaps some of the really prominent ones, as Geshe mentioned, that if you really want to know that, one really very extensive one is called the Gomang Drupta. Gomang is the monastic college, a part of the Debung University, my footnote, and it's simply called Gomang Drupta, tenets of the Gomang. That's very extensively deal with schools of thought and refutation. Right? People will study that. Or the other ones is the tenet treatise written by the great master, Changyal Rinpoche Dorjee. Right. The another one will be Tugen Chuji Nyima, another great master. The another could be the Sakya Pandita. Right. So these are the real, right, the more prominent extensive one. Then there are many other things. Right. So that's where we need to look up for all these things. So why Buddhists care about studying many of these non-Buddhist philosophies, schools of thought. It's not so much in the sense of a Buddhist, like, okay, I'll understand them, then I will integrate it with my practice. This is not for that. But studying those non-Buddhist schools of thought, in the footnote again, mostly many schools, Hindu schools of thought, right? We're not talking about today many schools here. We're talking the ancient India. Is that then you can do the comparative study of non-Buddhist schools of thought and Buddhist schools of thought, and that will help you understand, realities, truths, and appreciate more of Buddha's discourses and teachings. And that's the important part. But claiming ourselves as Buddhists, that we really don't know much well about our own schools of thought, and then we are clueless about the non-Buddhist schools of thought, then we are in a very precarious situation. The well to do is study non-Buddhist schools of thought about reality, study Buddhist schools of thought, compare them, and then see which one makes really sense to us, right? As Buddha's teaching on realities. And so if then we develop a strong conviction in Buddha's teaching, that kind of faith and conviction is called based on reasoning, isn't it? The Tibetan word is Shene Tebatova. I have faith in you because I understood what you said. It's not a blind faith, right? That's very important part of that. That's what one of, I think, Grand Master called Tenzin Dorjee in his kind of work praising Buddha is that I have studied extensively and thoroughly non-Buddhist school of thought. I've studied what you have said, and through my own personal analysis, examinations, I come to see that what you have said, stands the truth of the matter. So my understanding and faith in you is even stronger as I studied other schools of thought, and that's why Buddha, I follow your way. Right? Means based upon understanding. Right? So that's our kind of a goal, so to speak, there.
What is it? That the camera of here, so in the Sanji, because they were checked right, and the camera about the Yorwa. Because Season says the downward margins. Season saw the job of drugs. Can you remember somebody by that teaches to say, 现在上街里对吧？现在上街呀，那推推直接的，虽然这不是年把这开，这哪嘛算是个是吧？那这60嘛，现在70嘛，这个是吧？现在70都知道嘛，这个加拿大就是超嘛，算是个，你还开几嘛，算是。几嘛说的，现在上街里搞不起啊，你看是这个，这个点嘛都是现在挺搞不起也是吧？
So Geshe really cited from his memory some pertinent stanza and lines from the work called Khebar Pakde, which is extraordinary sort of praise to the Buddha by Tenzin Dorjee, and where he basically says that why I have come to that decision to follow Buddha's way at more stronger conviction after all that comparative study analysis is because I find that Buddha's words stands the ground, the truth of the matter, right? I will be very honest with you, that Buddha did not give me any special gift just to follow him. Okay, I didn't receive any disclosure here. Buddha did not give me any cookies here, right? Okay, here, and the other non-Buddhist schools like Vaisheshikas, they really did not hate me or they tried to harass me. They did not harm me either. I just studied everything and come to see that Buddha's words are very truthful, and that's why, oh Buddha, I decided to follow you, right? So he's showing his objectivity and unbiased, right? It's not like Buddha kind of, bribed him somewhere there. He said, no, I didn't receive any gift, okay? It's not that the non-Buddhist schools have harassed me or abused me and now I hate them and I'm just taking a revenge here. No, that's not, right? Just truthful study analysis, and that's the conclusion I have come about.
我这里写到，那上街跟这切肉煮的大家就是讲个，看见几七八要我写说呢，那上街里地方讲的，这些的意思我说现在，就是大当时写么多，像没得不煮的可能不个一些些的这，像考现这大伙儿的图书写的，现在像新学好有句嘛是吧？可要我写说呢，那。前两天吧，在线上也对吧？也讲，说被不到我这个上天来看的，可是70代就老多上的看的，对吧？脑子才没得被，大把这70代就老少嘛呀，老是不带对吧？这样。
老。
大把这70代就让老板搞不睡觉嘛的。
哎，老是。
到你这样是吧？
老是。
可是这老样的看的是那个的，呀。Khebar here to done. Lower. We couldn't see Namsala, the don't direct lower marma.
So from Buddhist perspective, and sometimes we even find in certain sutra, certain phrases or lines are there, which is more like restricting, like Buddhists from studying non-Buddhist texts and anything like that. They said, don't do that. But then other times, right, in certain contexts, you're allowed to do that. So it's very important for us to understand the purpose of all of these things, right? The purpose is that by doing like a deep comparative analysis, that helps us to understand the authenticity, validity, truth of the matter of Buddhism, then it is allowed. There is no restrictions, right? But if that's not the purpose or the goal, but simply wants to sort of out of curiosity, right? Curious George kind of thing. Geshe didn't say that, but out of curiosity, like we want that, then we get attracted by these other schools of thought, and okay, I'm going to practice that one. Then from Buddhist point of view, like no, don't go there, kind of thing. So there's all this like on one side, there's sometimes a restriction, right? If you don't know what you're doing, that's a restriction. But if you know what you're doing, go ahead. Kind of thing. Yeah.
What did it? That young people say, "Imagine doing in the same no, the Jimmy said, "When could you ever do your war? Could you mean? I just wrote the Ganga, the Johnson, you so. Tana, you summon no, you would not in the Ganga, be single, Ganga, be no more soon, which is a young girl. Could you masara?" said the girl, Jimmy checked the sister, do you ever do your
So Geshe is chuckling over this fact where the Charvakas and the Gyaltsen said, well, we assert that things could arise without causes, and we give you plenty of examples. The waterfall and the roundness of the pea, the sharpness of the thorn, the beauties of the peacock's feathers, right? All of this, who created? Tell me. Nobody created them. They're just all natural. Yeah. But Geshe is chuckling over that. If really they think really carefully, all the examples are actually evidence to show that there are causes behind this, isn't it? If there are no causes, then why? The crow's feathers are not beautiful like peacocks. Why can't crows have a beautiful feathers like peacocks? Right? Because causes were not present in there, right? And so why everything is not sharp? Only the thorns and few other things, because, right, of the causes. So all the examples they have given behind that shows these are the results of causes. So as Geshe read and explained, that we see this whole variety of realities and phenomena examples, isn't it? Now, even among us human beings, we don't look alike exactly like each other. So there is, although we're very similar, but we don't look exactly the same. Why? Because there are different causes, right, that resulted in who we are. And then, of course, things that we can look at, right, they all don't look exactly the same thing, So this shows that variety of causes produce variety of results, or that the same cause should bring the same results, right? Anyway, so those are the things. And so what Charvaka has tried to assert, or the examples given, that's more like part of what is called Gyunsen Tanang. It is what we call seemingly like a valid reasoning. Looks like a valid reasoning, but it's not. It's not valid. Okay.
Mandu Namji Terra Deme to the Kayes and Demba you Tende in the Demba Chassis, Demba you didn't go. You take yours, no. Tende Demba made you go. But the Chihuahua, Chihuahua was that country.
Chihuahua is in the person.
La
Chihuahua is on it.
But you didn't go down to Chihuahua. They made to see Thomas. Cut dentro years, attended to the tell you they made to see the go. No. This is that young man had the Mazel don't to see what they had.
So in the Brahmana Vartika, or the valid cognition treatises, so Namdal, there are these very pertinent lines, as Geshe cited from his memory, that things do not arise if the necessary causes and conditions are not there, right? Things don't happen. But if the necessary causes and conditions are all present, then nobody can stop the things from arising, because that's sort of like in the law of nature, I would say, right? If the necessary causes and conditions are not all there, something is missing, then things cannot be produced. If all the necessary causes and conditions are there, then nobody can stop it, because things will happen. Okay? So as Geshe said, that where one thinks that this is the reason to assert that things could arise without causes, but from another perspective, those are exactly the reason why things are arising from causes, right? Charvaka's thing right, those examples, they think these are the examples of how things arise without causes. But the Madhyama beings say, actually, those are the examples of how things arise from causes. Another parallel example is what Geshe says about how in the Buddhist schools of thought within, right, there are schools who say, well, things truly exist because they are dependent arising. Okay. Then the Madhyama beings comes, things do not truly exist because they are dependent arising. So they're using the same reasoning. One thinks that this is a good reason to establish that things are truly existent. Then others say, no, that's exactly the reason things don't exist truly. Hello, right? So this is what's happening, you know.
What did you say? You me today, Karsa. Jidang, Josans with him, touching the nearby is the most the demo show, no so much. Said this other. You made you did has you the part on the what to do this. And because the Mazian don't church because Zemo Sama no more. It is like you can't go said,
No.
anything on those shadow Maris, Sanjay Chicken Mayu. It Tamako because you know you did it, there is record on the shadow Maris.
No, so.
Sanjay Nazi is here.
I did lay the devil you again.
La dear Devana.
The Chema landed the walk on the shadow.
La
Sherma landed the walk on the shadow. The Bandit was not in the landed in the grow again.
Leg Joas, that Jama decided Kaza Leg then Shongua.
I'll let down this.
Timmy, you go. New Ganga, New Ganga, Kansak, Lel, then Doris. That Gonzaga Kaji thinks that she did this one. Ganga Lel Yoshan Yabu this. Jidit told the grass particular Jonakor Jordan Josia.
No.
And the grass Chili and Lel to say, here the yard to say, sing or you. She's the insert, she did the car to work. But no, you talk about that. Rizal Kanye to the Charter body, the Lel Yomaris and the Lana Dumara. Time to get started, Lel and Kansa, Jar of the Carnation Horse, the Tato car to work. Tell Tobacco to go Lel Shonga. Any could dig for a young age, the Sangin, the country in the Lel Shaja, the Lel liar. Choice of my
And so, of course, Charvaka say, okay, now you said that the beautiful designs in the colors of in the feathers of the peacock and the sharpness of the thorn, they have causes. So tell me, what kind of causes brought them, right? And so the Madhyama beings say that, you know, well, I mean, in some sense, those are related to karmic actions. And so that's specific karmas, and these are the prerogatives of the enlightened beings. You know, we cannot tell you which particular karma has resulted in these particular things, you know, but they are. So the whole, from Buddhist point of view, the environments and inhabitants within are all results of karmic actions, isn't it? Yeah? So everything is related to the karma. But now there are some, you know, people say, you know what, you're using like karma as like do it all kind of thing, right? No. You know, why don't we say things into two ways? There are a lot of things that arise from elements, natural. Then there are a lot of things that arise from karma. Don't you think that's a better way, right? Rather saying you said everything's karma. You're just using a karma as a blanket statement, you know, people say. But Geshe says, you know, but even that, like where they say we should differentiate between things arising from elements and natural and karma, they put themselves in a much more difficult position. Okay, let's say when the first world is formed, they're found out of natural elements, right? And then the beings come. So what happened? Why beings are in this particular environment? You know, what has that to do with? So at the end, they will again have to come back to the karma. So it's better to say from the beginning that everything is a result of karma rather than, right, you take one extra step and then you end up with the karma anyway, right? I mean, you're complicating yourself there. Yeah.
What is that? In the leg, Koran, Chai Chawati, Sanjay and King Maris. What is going on? He said, near some shower. Ngujurse, Sungsi Goji, Shantideva Goji, that Shantideva Nguju the milk to a Gagan goes and Chigwari, that is Yorashirayamari. And Sungsi Goji to the Mother be dropped away, that they are Yorashomara. Said the Shantideva Goji said, they said the Sanji Sumalia, Yishin, to be a mother said, he and so did Ingrid did the city. And the Kazatame hit over Yamara.
No, son.
Says the she said, Nelson shadow with the shadow.
No, son. So, of course, certainly subtle karmas are involved here, which are the prerogatives of the exclusive domains of knowledge of enlightened beings, not everybody. So, in the Buddhist context, when we talk about Shartse Nesum, three different realities as objects of knowledge, which we mentioned earlier, we have Ngunsum, means like a manifest objects or manifestly present phenomena realities. Yeah? So these things can be accessed directly through direct experience and perceptions. So nobody needs to use any reasoning logic here, right? It's a direct experience, you know. But then there are what we call, literally translating, slightly concealed or hidden realities, Jungse Kokjur. But this could only be established through the reasoning of facts and evidence. Right? By the power of facts and evidence, we can establish that something beyond the direct perceptions exists. You know, we can do that. But then there are what we call extremely hidden or concealed phenomena, Shindu Kokju. Now this is where, you know, we believe the reasoning involves kind of conviction or belief in the Buddha's words, right? Because that is the exclusive domain of enlightened beings, and there's no other way to establish those realities, you know.
What did that the good year she did you did it, dollar because I now really did it. You do this she get there, say, Margin don't sick boy. You are Tadeva, Gunji. Gunji member. She Jamin. Tijibani, Gunji top. She is also long the cousin dot did you hear him? Conjure Margin don't that you did not try to go to sing the Sanji mother Yamari. Did the Sanji Shagris. But the Ganze Sanji long shani. Sanji long shot there, Taras Sanji super George race, song race, Titan Manzim shat. I the Sanji song have Mujurs in the Jose Gogur. Dame the Demahi Namsha, Zuganga Motor River Shore. That Sanji song Ganga Chevas and Ganga Suzo Shako Ganga Raj was told this on. And that shit to go to the cost of Lord Chu or that not to share the Gaga, the Sanjay Rig, that there is something. And tea is again, and the Muslim the Mother Jeva, the many of the Hakon Shaker, but the Taras Sanjay, somebody say, long race, to see you haven't do Amara.
No, so.
This is what that. Long kill Leonatilla, near Sanjay song. May medical Changbo, getting Yama dress you call Changbo, dress you Changbo. That could just show myself your way. What is that?
No. So, as Geshe read from that commentary, and I think Sutra has been quoted there, but they did not name the Sutra there, which basically said that, you know, the subtleties of law of cause and effect are the exclusive domains of enlightened beings, and even with regard to those, you know, the designs and the beauty of in the Peter's feathers, peacocks, is something related to a subtle karma that only enlightened beings know, not an ordinary people like us. So in the Buddhist context, when we said that's what the Buddha said, usually that's not really, like everything Buddha said is not something you have accepted at the face value, you know. But with the extremely hidden realized phenomena, the logic we use is because Buddha said it, right? That's just where we quote it, you know. And how do we get there, you know? Simply because somebody quote Buddha doesn't mean like, you know, we have to accept it right away. So there is a process, by which we will be able to get there, which is that first you have to establish the authenticity and validity of Buddha's teachings and words, isn't it? Once we have done that, and then we will be able to accept Buddha as an authentic, unmistakable, valid person. Then based upon that, now we can trust his words and then understand that. That's a whole process, to get there. So for example, as we said, anything that we can directly perceive and experience, nobody needs any logic, analysis there. We can easily sort of understand that, and we can show to each other, so to speak, in some sense. But then with the slightly hidden phenomena, realities that need to be established through inferential reasonings, there are many hard realities here. But still, however difficult these are, this could be established through the power of facts and evidence, isn't it? Not simply believe in Buddha. So these things include the Four Noble Truths, and selflessness. These realities could be established through the reasoning of the power of facts and evidence. The Tibetan word is Ripa, So once we understand that, this incredible, profound selflessness, how Buddha did not go wrong here, have that. Now we have these convictions that, okay, now what at the deeper level Buddha said, that must be true. So, that's how it come to that. So the common example we said, if you know of somebody, you personally, this person can never tell a lie. Whatever this person has said throughout the life, it has always been truthful, Do we know such person? So based on that experience, and over and time again, we know, okay, now whatever this person says, he or she, we can take it, isn't it? That's how we believe it, Because this person has never lied, we know. So it's like that. Through this process, we establish that Buddha, has light here, Even with matters of Four Noble Truths, impermanence, the selflessness, all of that about, And then we come to say, okay, now with this thing, which is beyond me, I don't know all these subtle karmas. Now Buddha said it. He didn't go wrong in all this matter, so that must be true. That's how we believe it, Yeah. So things could not arise, because all things are dependent on rising, so they could not arise, without the causes and conditions. So when we see that things, do exist for a certain period of time, and then they go out of existence, and then they might reappear, whatever, This whole occasionality or periodical things, randomness things, that shows that things are dependent on cause and conditions, isn't it? When the cause and the conditions assemble, they happen. It's the right season. This is the time to grow, rise, it will. Now it's out of the season, wait for the next season, rice is not going to grow. So what that tells us, that rice, seedlings come out of rice seeds, and they're dependent on season and many other things, isn't it? If they are not dependent on causes, why can't there be rice all the time? Why rice has to sometimes there, sometimes not there. We can't talk about seasons, right? So that's why, when you claim that something arises without causes, two things, are possible. One, that whatever that thing you said, it has arisen without causes, that it must exist forever, permanently, right? It should not go out of like a season or existence, anything, because there's no reason. It doesn't need a cause, right? So why can't it exist? Or that it could not exist in the first place, right? It's a non-existent. It cannot be existent at all. So so that's why all this occasionality, randomness, or I don't know what's the right word for that. We call it luburwa, occasional literal phenomena, things that happen sometimes, and then they go out of it, and then the other time that indicates that things arise from causes and conditions.
Nipal songs that you may jog that that way you go. Also, that was jog was that was jing also that was judge. That was just as you know. Do that was just as ye. That was you remember. You did that about. You gaba hezi chaba jawas. You did that way, hezi chaba again, here's a young joe, Chesa Siashi. So Taba le Jawa was so did it. Chizul just said that Chongsen, Chizul Jenki said it. That the jail just said the Pesha didn't just do Mamoyori. That Chizul said, do get on. Translator, Chizu says yours, details, so the Chizu double jogamos. That Amoli Anjugu, two Chinigava. That by na Geshe Gyeltsen demos. Without Anju double guessing it is that the Shidava River. Anju two Chinigavas. Also said, Carol, also said, Zuzu Carzuris, Kaza, I don't Kaza Mahima, also said Carres. I thought also said the young Laudu, also Coro Gunzid of the Carres, but they share that. Also Ranzungi Carsa, they tell a Thomas Gaden, Gaden. Shartse, onju rangi, ranzunge, tamji chemba di jigden de shi, densha rebe se, onju ranzunge tamji chemba di jigden de tamji jimba debe, lo yo wondu. Tawana Timata Wokilog Jigonam Ne Sung Nuzi Detaje Rimbe Shabena Nuzi Shibaba Onzu Ino Hena Tingobala. This was the Kaji Onzu Shibaba Deade Karisana Kaji that Jigden Jigga the Jurigora. No. Bevatia, that is Jiga, she said, you told me, Zuzu shower. So that Thomas of the only court, Jimmy Gosset, Cross do Jazz. That said, I got my own rules to do at the zero to war. She said, to me, my shit, Kata Carter was the only two theirs.
So we have witnessed. The logic or the reasoning refuting Sharvaka's assertion or standpoint that things could arise without causes, right? Now the second one is those who assert that things arise from permanent causes. Okay? So there are a number of them. And Vaisheshikas, Chetapa, they claim that things are created by Ishwar. Ishwar is a permanent. Yeah, so Ishwar is a permanent cause, and he or she or they created it, everything. Then there are the Samkhayas, who will say that there is something called primordial Jiso, the primordial substance, right, or the principle, as we translate it literally, and that principle is permanent, and that creates all other things, right? Then we have, maybe more schools would say that things are caused by permanent, particles, okay, partless particles, like that. So this one has been refuted earlier, right? We just simply reminded, we already talked about that, so just will tell you that. So here we are dealing with how it is not possible that to claim that Ishwar as a permanent entity or a person, but actually we have asked them question, what do you mean by Ishwar, right? We even don't know what they're talking about. Which you claim as permanent is the cause of everything the world created. So we need to ask the question, what do you mean by Ishwar, Wangchu, right? Is this a person, or this is a non-person, or is this, what is this Ishwar you are claimed to be, right, a cause of everything? The way they came to this kind of assertion is that, right, because they feel that if you say that the world has been created by a certain cause, then they said, oh, what has created those causes? Then there are other causes, right? Then it seems like it stops nowhere. So they feel like there has to be beginning, right? If you claim that it is beginningless, that's not working. So they said, in the beginning, there was nothing Ishwar. Ishwar doesn't need any cause. Ishwar is Ishwar, permanent. So this is the beginning point. Then the rest of things started from Ishwar. So now we have a beginning. We don't have to go beginningless, right? That's how they end up with Ishwar here, right?
What is that? Dharma is onju said the curses is onju said that Jigde be cha no to be to do any shares love it then telling on it's so much go me do so.
No,
and then that leading a ganga joint ya could any journey show.
No.
But it takes them in my head, it's so much go me do. This here did that you nam jibu junjur nam jia dam ko za ye de did that to cheva maybe ming song the so this was onju she said ming song ya ji yi take chebo ga zhou ye ye wa qi de xie ba ka de ri wo ye da me de so tong yi cheva ne chebo ye be ne sa zo yuan na ne onju de mi ri so c'est ça joie chebo jaar de quand tu te douce et ne joie chebo qui de ne on joue les à de quand tu te me douce ou de ça mais so c'est dans la que ya on joue go cheba joba da chame jibu da jeji shibe da ba jeji mi shibe da ba le yo a je da sa yin ba da过去的，上的啦，有的知道都比最他妈的，这些是没大把的，那要没把的，那明星是，刚把说也是，我们这年的没怎么就，有的呢，我是也满意的，曾经没得不通。我给的就被写入是，写入，所以这这没了，我就是用完，我就是个么子，我就是啊，这些杂些不讲那这些不这个玩意儿，是用完些的用个就是说，哎，你光考中么就是啊，多背后的呀，把这对上就是考中么就是在写什么的就，光那些的呀，就是这样的写可以嘛，这是，现在这些的这样的。on joue ça de jouer chez le gros de non jouer ça. What is that?
So how Madhyamikans are sort of tackling this philosophical standpoint of Vaisheshikas that Ishwar, a permanent cause, it has created the world. And so the first one, I want to ask you the question, what do you mean by Ishwar? If you, by Ishwar, you mean the natural elements, right? Earth, water, fire, all of space, then we really don't need to argue with each other, right? I mean, you're just complicating the thing. You just call it Ishwar, right? And just, but we also accept that, for example, the Mount Meru and the continents and environments, they arise from great natural elements, right? So the only thing we don't agree with you is you call it Ishwar, and that's not working. So there's nothing to debate. It's just a matter of calling what it is, right? But then you also tell us that your Ishwar has certain characteristics. You said Ishwar is permanent, right? You said that Ishwar is one, not multiple, like a singularity, right? Entity. And it's a partless one, okay? And then Ishwar has this like a motivational force, right? I want to create a world, and then the world happens, right? You have motivational factor. And then you said Ishwar is very divine, very holy, okay? If those are the characters of Ishwar, then you cannot call the natural elements Ishwar, because natural elements don't have those characteristics. Natural elements are not permanent, they are impermanent, okay? And natural elements are not partless. They have parts, And natural elements do not have a motivation force, like, okay, I want to create a mountain today, right? They don't. Actually, I didn't say that. It's just my footnote. They don't have a motivational intention there. And the natural elements are not divine and holy in some sense. People just trample upon them. They walk on the earth. It's dirty. It is, so it's not divine. Not worshipped and holy, right? And so therefore, right, it's different, isn't it? So that's what the Madhyamikans are communicating to the Vaisheshikas. Yeah.
Oh, teach Karsa. You are Beva, Nangati, Anzu Maris, you are Ganga Maris, Juan Maris, Nanga Anzu Goshen, Anzu the Nanga made Jibuchewe, said, you are maybe she's Nanga sat on the Dimash Nanga Siro.
No.
Said, Nanga tell you, love Yomara, Mr. You are Yomara. She said, you are maybe. You asked some of them was cigarette.
No.
She Anzu Nanga mind, Jibuchewe, said, you are maybe she. That Anzu mind. Da pimrik nika ngane ka simbe chir onju de samji mejebe shibabo imba mungi ki jode da mede shena karsa onju de samji mejebe shibabo imbe mungi ki jode da mede shena Samja member ye Shivapo Onju Dea Sambasha Yu Membena Jide Shivapo Cheje Samdi Juve Chi Shade Chi Shade Sambe Yulin Deve Onju Je Shawate Suhi Yimba Cheja Mishivi Shiros Tida Onju Shade the judges, them what was it? Then they think it was the best. Several years ago, was it Lana? This national day, the data the Jays did not do this. Mazakora shit of a corner of several minutes. What the Jays are. Just a declare, don't you say, only Corali Guzzi, take what Judeka only she said it in the remote answer, remote Dumba, see what the radio or this over that.
So I think we are on page 171 of this English translation by Stephen Batchelors. And so as part of that argumentation or metaphysical debate, what you want to call it, a number of points are being made here. Now, should they say that Ishvara is actually what we call Namka, space, right? And so space is the permanent cause of everything. And here mathematicians are saying that space is unproduced phenomenon, and space does not have volition, intention. So whereas you claim that Ishvara is volitional, and space does not have that volition, so it cannot be the cause and Ishvara that you are claiming it to be. Yeah. Now another point is that should they say that Ishvara is that permanent Atma, or the self or the soul, well, we have already looked at that and previously refuted it. There cannot be a permanent Atma, or the soul there. And so the third point is that if we say that, well, Ishvara is really beyond thought and concepts, and then that just seems like you are very unclear about that. You don't know what your Ishvara is, right? But yet you claim that to be the cause of everything else. That's not working, isn't it? When you are not sure about Ishvara, and you say it's beyond thought, then why you bring this beyond thought thing you are not so sure about as the cause number one of everything? So it might as well be same as saying that a rabbit's horn is the cause of everything, So the third one is that when they said Wangchu Ishvara is something unimaginable beyond thought, then they said you are really not sure about it, and yet you want to talk about it as the primary cause of everything, right? And that's not working. Just be sure about it, what you're talking about, be clear what Ishvara is, and then, looks like we can have a discussion. So Geshe said we'll stop there and we'll welcome questions. And first we'll go back to our Dharma friends in the cyberspace, and then we'll come back here.
So I think we have one question.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for waiting. So this question says, isn't it correct to say that change is permanent?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Isn't it correct to say that change is permanent? I love very direct and short question like that. Not a whole paragraph, right? I don't mean don't ask a paragraph question, but go slow. But Chiwa Tangpo de Dirish again. And Koran Jurwa says Jurwa. Jurwa. Jurwa says when I talk about Marvesa, what talk about you think? Jurwa. Jurwa. Midaba Jurwa says maybe again. Jurwa says Jurwa. Jurwa again. Jurwa says Marve again. Midaba Jurwa says Jurwa. Jurwa Koran talk about Marvesa again. Jurwa. How guy that just Jurwa.
Jurwa says that talk about it.
Jurwa Koran talk about it.
Jurwa Koran talk about my Jurwa Midaba.
Jurwa second talk about Marvesa. Chua thank you.
Jurwa says that talk about it. Midaba talk about the call Jurwa Yomara.
In the matter, Jurwa Koran Rangdo Sagi Jurwa.
Jurwa Koran Rangdo in a talk about Jurwa Koran Midaba.
Again, the consideration because this what was a Jurwa said Tawa said that 10 the net is your again. Then you consider 2 again. Jurwa go to that way you were.
Municipal Tapa, June never Tapa said this. That Jurwa says June is not
yeah. Okay, just try to get more clarification because these are hard concepts there. Isn't change a permanent, right? Even called Jurwa. The change, Geshe, is not permanent. like phenomenon or example of that. So I thought maybe I try to get more clarity. So I think maybe Geshe can clarify between something that is what we call persistently exists, right? I don't know, you call it eternal, or we get. So he said, yes, in a Buddhist concept, we call it is, I don't know whether it comes clearly in English or not, Junji Takpa. Change is permanent in the sense, in terms of continuity, right? But it is itself is not a permanent. Are you with me? Something that persists or exists, right, keeps on going existence, but that doesn't make it a permanent. I hope that distinction is coming out clarity. Okay, so the Tibetan technical term is Junji Takpa. In terms of continuity, it's permanent, but it is not permanent. Are you with me? It looks like a paradoxical label. Yeah, something eternal. I might use that word, right? Yeah. Okay, right, permanent. Okay, that might work better. Yeah. You have another question or no? Oh. Yeah. I'll come back. Yeah.
Sorry. So we had another question too. If I can read it to you.
Sure.
So this is the question. It seems that the contemporary Christian view of the Creator God is not that it is material elements, but is a divine, infinite, non-material person that is single and has various characteristics like omnipotence, omniscience, creative motive, etc.
Yes.
What Buddhist arguments address this view?
Okay. So let me understand it, right? So the Christian concepts of the Creator God, right? Is that what we're talking about, right? Is omnipotent, omniscient, and is it permanent? Did you say permanent?
No, they did not.
Okay, what are the other characteristics? The whole laundry list, give me slowly.
Okay. Omnipotence.
Yes, omniscient.
Omniscience.
Has motivation.
Creative motive, etc.
Etc. So what is the Buddhist? Okay, and so, right, so,
and it looks like they kind of updated the question a little bit. They said a person, so that God
so
is
it's a person,
also
right?
Oh,
it's a person. So what do Buddhists think about that? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
His question is, what Buddhist arguments address this view?
Oh, address, okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, let me try. Trajectory chiba shwe chik rwa gen. This sigudu da kunjo yishu gi ane jigden koba ba kunjo yo rwa gen. Kunjo di sigudu kangsa ri sigudu wa gen. Jene kunjo di be tamje khyemba re do wa gen. Kunjo di ane ka chö tamje le khyaba re do wa kawa yö de gen rwa gen. Kunjo di le kulong ni ba do wa di chigin mi de sugo sa cho rwa gen. 제사 안에 다른 낭배 슝고 나네 근데 콘제 직된 거 봐 kunjo de rwa gen. Di tholi ya chö bara bo khare yo re sa gen. Ta di nga 낭배 슝 na chö ba ngsta ke yo mar wa gen. La 낭배 슝 wala di ga yishu gi tawa de chö ba ngta ke yo mar wa da rwa gen.
Da de kaza yi.
Ta nga di wangju di ge 슝 de ge hona ju de ge mar ge da bo do ta.
Wangju sia sangamo yo de ge rukhyungdirero the theory direzi kai mari
tamada che koran chewa di tande yishugi jigden ko ba de kunjo tanda ngje gyumje kaje shaso ge tamje khen ba kwe la kya ba roba ane kulong che yowa yo ba roba ge kangsa yin ding che roba yela nangbe gi ta dang thone khare yo re sa da
ale le teacher the nangbe ta da sa ta ti de jo mar khare se na ko yishisa de thangbo ji 강사 탐해야지. 근데 거야 냠len 접시. 거야 상제에 계속 들어오지 요 말아.
요 말아.
디메자 다고 나와서 당보 수도 랑가시. 근데 거 장이야 신이야. 이리야 레버지고.
레 말긴 단데 다디 주기 시거로 게다 군저 되게 제일 시거로 와. 어디 낭배다나 가서다 코란다 상제에는 니즈 가로게. 직된 거바 버데데 잔딜 디 직된 상마 체르스 거로 딜 야 낭배 슈는 쩌바로 여러베 따당 가려래서. 알레 드다데 세 직된데 레시르 마자데 데 시바보 가자
그거 뭐 켈링 뭐 낭배
No,
소소 얘기해 말아.
not it. Okay, so try to get a correct, clear answer to that, right? That's such a hard job I have. I want to retire soon. I've been in this job too long. No, what Geshe said is that, right? I mean, from Buddhist perspective, the world, creation, everything is due to karma, karmic actions, right? And from that perspective, right, if we look at the God as a person and omniscient and all-knower and all of that, right, it's not feasible. Yeah? Because in the Buddhism, I mean, one thing maybe what Geshe said, and I thought that's not related, maybe I should translate, it is now, that in Buddhism what we feel is that an ordinary person, right, can go through the stages of the path and clean and become omniscient, himself or herself one day, isn't it? But he doesn't think that God in the Christianity is somebody, right? A person who from the beginning went through all the practice, purification, and all the stages of development, and then become a God somewhere, right? That's not what it is. So that's one big difference there. First I thought that's not related, but then I should translate it, right? That's what Geshe said. Okay. Now I'll be coming back to the real human beings here. Okay. Yeah. So, I don't know who's first, Reina? Yeah.
It seems to me that the Buddhist presentation puts us, brings the responsibility right here and there. It seems to me other views, like that one did it, that one made it, that other thing caused this. And in the Buddhist view, it's like, no, I
This is
did
what
it.
it is.
Yeah, no, it's not what it is. It's,
Right.
it's the responsibility becomes squarely right here on me and my behavior. And like, there's no getting away with holding ourselves accountable when it comes to Buddhism. And I'm wondering what Geshe thinks about that. It seems to me like that's the distinction between, if one distinction, I mean, there's many ways you can distinguish, but non-Buddhist, there's always someone else that's at fault, someone else who created, someone else who did, someone else who caused. But in the Buddhist view, it's like, it's
Back
us.
to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Morang kandi shwe di dire da morang kodan chebe na ruwa gen. Ta nga za de karso shingi lukanga ga ane chik ranglu ro sha de ge ruwa gen.
나
Di tanda di dubde gi lu de dubde shamba ga sha go ruwa gen. Ka ne da uma be ranglu sha go ruwa gen. Ta ga da shingi lo le ya de ne chik gunjo wangju ge chebe de jiso chebe de karsa duten chame chebe pa lab de go ruwa gen. Je de kan nangju khonzo mangbo shiwe chigi 얘나 교회도 미션바지 내 체매 코에 체벌사 차고도 서와게 나 낭배 쉬는 체벌 참아 레그 체벌 슬라버와게 시도 갈라야 다 개다 차자 소소 공백할 때도 서와게 다 소소 도나 차단서 약부 마체베 이나와게 셰나 라탁사면도 로와게 소소 레셔스도 디 다가래 되는 디 토할 개 공주 가려나사 낭배 전에 상말 레알 투자다 레드 소소 레와게 소소 게임 마다 미션발 주구주구사 스케미도 자다 게임 주부시부시로와게 상마 델레 되고도 디 토할 공주 가려나사
아니 그렇다고 레레 주제 가르치고 그래
말에 레 인상 레 데이터 두이나 소셜 레 상해 제벌 투그로와게 제가 큐 다가서 다 디두 랍션 등메로게 큐다가 소셜 레 때마다 지금 미션발 레 라타스스케 요마로와게 샤바이나 겐데 랍셔로와 말에 제면 군조 거라 넣어서 거라 치주 배우 치도 랍셔로다
됐어요. 소소 가르쳐나 레르야 되게 소소 내도도 가르 연구에나 띵에마 소소 제샤실 지부시 연구를 뭐지 현다가 소소 연구야 저 양 지부야 저 되게 말이서로 되게서 레르야 되라
다 간저 나 레시되게 그 미소서 계획이 레다다 간저 튜몸 레다 상마스고로와게 Okay, so clarity. So Geshe says, yeah, I mean, as in the Buddhist right, finally a lot of things is relates to the karma, right, karmic action, and then if it really kind of think about this application, it comes down to oneself, right, on our shoulder. But then when we talk about karma, of course, there is that individual karma, because that's responsible for one's own happiness, unhappiness, all the drama-ramas go through in our life. And plus, there's a collective karma that we all do something, and that's something good or that's something bad. That's another drama-rama at another level there. Geshe didn't say that, just to wake you up. I'm saying drama-rama. So yeah. So at the end of the day, yeah, so that's giving us this accountability, right, respecting the law of karma, and be a responsible person. Right.
Replace the word karma with imprints.
Oh, imprints are there.
We don't use karma.
I'll check with Geshe. Yeah. Quran says, "Le say dile sar ko phagsa lamne yak samarve sugor." Ola sa monjugi. Le lava le ke phagsa ke che lamne yak marve sugor ke.
Le the Pasha Sensiva. Le Koran said the top and the Jakdu of Shen, the Le Savardi. Jakdu Koran, Betapa did that could she could never live on. Or take June of Masses learn a conservative drum.
So in this context, right, when we use the word karma, right, I mean, it also subsumes the paksa imprints. What happens is the karmic action is done, then it ceases to exist, but then it leaves its imprint on our mind. And so that produces all kinds of results, right? Yeah. Yeah.
About the Charvakas, can we say that the main object of refutation of the Charvakas are two things: karma, imprints, and Ishvara. This is Ishvara. Ishvara. This is really what, because at the very beginning of this section, it's explained that to be without a cause means that it's and with spontaneously produced means that it's not produced through the efforts of anyone without a maker. Okay, which I read as meaning causeless. Effortlessly means that it's not the result of conscious effort.
Right.
Okay, so these two things, karma and Ishvara, this is what they are against. Really, main.
No, I think Ishvara is another school. Yeah, just Charvaka is only the.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying Charvakas, the main object of refutation of Charvakas are two things: karma and Ishvara. Ishvara is the maker. Okay, when the things are not produced by a conscious effort. That's if they were produced, that would be Ishvara. Right? He would produce, and karma. So these two things. And the reason I'm saying that is because if I remember correctly, the founder of the Charvakas was somebody who wanted to lie down with his daughter. Right? He wanted to have sex with his daughter, and he came up with these ideas. You can ask Geshe if that's the case.
Vaguely, I remember something.
Yeah. So he came up with all these ideas. There is no karma, there is no Ishvara, there is no responsibility, there is no future lives, and all that. Which is, this is a comment, I don't know if Geshe would agree with me, but it seems to me that the Charvakas actually, they've come to dominate the modern worldview completely. Completely. I mean, all the scientists, now it's later on we'll see that Samkhya's also they dominate. The Buddhism is disappearing and all these things, but they completely dominate. According to them, everything arises spontaneously, not as a result of a maker, not as a result of karma. People come from animals. They believe in the theory of evolution. The planets evolve spontaneously. Consciousness came from matter, and all these things, bizarre ideas, and also the moral relativism of today, which we see it on full display, the degradation, incredible. So yes, so that's what I'm saying. So these two the main object of
Okay, let's summarize one more time because you said a lot. Okay, so one is the Ishvara, right?
Ishvara, yes, as a creator, somebody who creates things.
The other is the karma.
Karma, yes. They're negating.
What? Or negating those two?
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Okay.
This is what they are against mainly, right?
Okay. I'll check with you. Yes, now I got it. Yeah. Condition did again. Then the young ben back again. Koran ya king develop the jurd the wagon. The Sidu kind of young ben baggy the disease of Marwa again. Jangben ba du gage or wage. Gaya de le neden ro ni du sa wage. Neden chik de Jangben ba kar so ko di kar so lende keling ge sama res wa kya chima de yor wage. Le cha di chik commander za kari session digre ko kya chima se de yo ma ro wage. Kari de ches chik che wage. Nieba di ane tamje da kar so wangju ge che res wage. Da wangju di da jungwa ine da karin ha ma ro wage. Cha da Quran diji dini insa de sa reverse wage. Ta di ngaso ka ge yor wa sa wage. Lende ro wage. Lende se ke yo ma res wa do ba kan yo de ches Quran samlo 학과에 세면은 다 장변박이 다 당보 덤버서 오르와게 그런 안에 소수 보면님도 저버쳐 있어로 와게 다게 요 말해서 근데 레 좀대 생긴데 게 말이지 기부당도 캡산을 세서 와게 근데 지 인사로 와게
어디 로규대 요
와게 데 다가를 보면님 그런 제단 렌데 맞게 직체로 와게 니바디 안에 왕주게 체벌 세저로 와게 저담저로 와게 제가 다디 가게 요로 와서 제시데 단다 등산 천리백의 섬을 땅다 저러와게 다시 배제 장배를 라고 두서 걸때로와게 천리백의 레준데기 시기가 말와게 배는 간전 넘버 쉐버스겐 디 딜레백의 제기 추레 마다 남시 생이 저러와게 시기가 말와게 안 탐제대 중대가 제알 때문에 유발하지 마도 지기 때문에 넘버 시기가 말와게 어느 레샤사 디게 공주다가 이나 권라 라바지 단다 딱다 대여와게 단다 장배바기다 디주니의 가에데 다가래들 내전이데 레준데 맞으베 치카 탐제 왕주의 체벌세저로 와게 니치카 다그래들
왕주시가 되게 장배가 말이 되게 왕주시가 왕주시가 보시는데 시작하다 내가 가시요로 장배가 그거 유명 뭐야 레주르케 메네가 맞아요 말
알레 레준데 말레베 치체 다 규메를 제베트케
유명 누가 유명해져야 돼요
규메를 제베다 레준데 말레메디 코 레준데 링겨 말와게 장배바 어다 디니 랍션 되고로
디니
yeah, Geshe wants to clarify that Charvakas, we call it Yangpenpa, right? So of course, the one, what they assert is that things could arise without causes, right? That's one being refuted. And they do not believe in the law of karma action, right? That's being refuted. But about the Ishwar, that belongs to a number of other schools, not really Charvakas, right? Yeah, that's per se.
Okay. One can the roundness of peace being made through the efforts of anyone. They cannot be made by any maker, and in that sense they arise spontaneously. So we're talking about maker. That's Ishvara. So implicitly that's what I'm saying. Implicitly refutes. This is really what some kind of a transcendent being. If you will, just like karma is something.
Okay, so that's that implicitly.
Yeah, implicit
right?
refutation of Ishvara.
Al-Quran lockdown chena yorwa ke tanda benam sema riri di mi se mare sarwa ke chujung ke marwa sema riri di mi se be chujung ke debu marwa ke daga na se mamje chonda de di mi che mare ko di rowa ke so mi ma je ba song sa shugla kare teng ke de sana wangju ke che be teng de la ko ke de takda re de na mi ma je ba so sa so wa le ma jung we che de ke di rowa ke shugden la ane wangju ke che be teng de di 디 다가 되는 거라 고안한다디.
다 어제 교인사 되네. 교인 생에도 되는 되게. 시세다 강은 되가 자야 말.
알레 디다다다다 가서 디 장배바게 디 슈글라 근데 슈글된 링기 요마로 와고.
장장도 제가 저 말디.
So what Geshe is saying is that clarification, right, where you said that where they claim the roundness of the peak, that nobody's effort produced with effort. So that implicates, right, or implicitly says Ishwar, right, could be behind that. Is that what the Charvakas are thinking, right? Charvakas. Geshe said, Charvakas from their philosophy, not really, but there are other schools, they might think exactly that, right? But not the Charvakas. Charvakas are not implicating that because these are, arising without effort, right? That means there's Ishwar behind that. They don't claim that.
No, the opposite. I'm saying the opposite.
Opposite.
They implicitly refute Ishvara. No, they are not saying Ishvara is the cause. To the contrary, they're saying Ishvara definitely is not the cause. They implicitly refute Ishvara. Not imply the existence of Ishvara, but
refute. Sure. Ala dilsha. Danda di Jangpen bagi tat pena Jimamje Tronda, that's all my Jumbeki, Rita Gipemusha, again. Digi Kariting to Senate. You want to sing a tapas in Mavich again. Sure, Kagi is a race of Kotan or Diquensera. You realize me do that cutting is again.
Ritako, Pico, only our killing, the car said, Cadet,
Sure, Sure, Kavakijayamara.
Tako, this is that, because Shivapo base is on that, the only Shivapo by the shoulder, water over.
Yeah, that may be, yeah, implicit, you're right.
Is it true that the founder
Yes, you said yes. Yes, that's right, yes. Yes, the founder's story is right, yeah. Yeah, he messed up with his daughter and said there's no karma and do whatever you like, yeah.
Do we as Buddhists consider that a type of nihilism? Because we're denial, karma, cause and effect. Do we consider that a type of nihilism?
Nihilism, if we deny it, right, yeah. Anta nangbe shune tebe ina ruwage ane lende karsokore majibe ina di cheta chago ruwa sarwage ngambe nangba imbe chane ruwage lende segenji yo maris labi na ruwage cheta chago marwa sa cheta yangbe ba cheta chade ruwage
No, cheta chago.
Yes, nihilist, yes. Yes. How are we doing with time? I can't see from here. We still could have 1 or 2 questions. Please.
Thank you. So just a clarification on the refutation of God.
Yes.
There's a traditional example of looking at any phenomenon that it exists from its parts. When we look part by part,
Right.
we don't find it, we just find things that are not it. That's one part. We also know that it's dependent related. If it's produced, then that's another type of cause. It exists from its various parts,
Right.
nothing's it, but it also exists because it was produced by something other. The flower has the sun and the rain inside it. But then finally, more subtle, it depends upon consciousness to say, name it, because all these particles come together with a name.
Okay.
More subtle is naming.
Okay.
So we could say that even though it doesn't exist as a unit, and it doesn't exist in the way we think it does as separate because the whole cosmos is inside it, it's not nothing, nihilism, because it does exist as an appearance to the consciousness that's apprehending it and naming it. So it appears to the mind. And then finally we could go one step further and say, but the mind is not inherently existent either, because it too is the nature of
Sure.
emptiness.
Right.
So if he could clarify, I understand this more clearly with an external phenomenon such as a flower, but maybe a God, you know, it has the same gross, subtle, and subtle ultimately appearance to mind type of thing. If he could speak to that, that would be.
Oh, you mean like could he speak to the thing that just as we talk
Well, it's
about?
easier with an object, like the flower. All of the petals don't make up the flower,
Right.
and then we also see it's dependent related
Right.
because of the sun and rain.
Right.
But ultimately, its appearance to mind,
Right.
and then we know even the mind is the nature of emptiness.
Right.
But with the God, it's a little bit trickier. If we could just speak to karmically how God exists among its parts, how God is dependent related by produced, how it's a produced phenomena, and how ultimately God is a mere appearance to a mind.
Sure. Okay.
That would be helpful to me.
Thank you. Yeah. Quran condition this go again. Da che da ngzo nang we shung ne she be ina ken den de tin de gun de mang go shi go wa ge thara wa ge. Ben da me do ro cha she me do de Dharma yue de ye ka yue de ji chi de ka la ko de ni yue de wa ge. Da da ga na shi ku me do de ju de jian le jie sa ju jian le jie be den de she go wa ge. Da ta me da shi me do sai de ka sa to ba da zam de de be de ko me do la wa ge. Se da din de yi wa chen ne da ga je da di chang ma lo da ji nam da de she de ge de da ko 가서 딱 똑바스네면 쉐바 차대요 와게 다 쉐바데 파체베 이메나 에너 랑싱이 먼저 버려 상마 와게 쉐데 거 와게 제가 거랑 sama di 쉐바나 시 다단다 쿠란자 라데기 군조세 저와게 군조세 델이야 개인기 식줄이 체비나와게 아니 가서고라다 군조세 델와게 아니 예외는 델이야 딘데기 예와로 들어와게 지 타라라 뭐 체르버 딘데 시기 예외나 시기 매비나서와게 다긴 디스나 야고면서 간저 제법 군조 됐다 간저 남배숑나 여마와게 제법 군조 세간데 남배숑나 여마와게 이네 다양 콘도 디트로그멘트에서 간저 라세 망고지어와게 다 디기겐 세세시나 페제 펜토 그래서 못 들어와 제법 군조 세간제 여마데 라스 간저 다 라망고지어와 다 디게 디 에너지 람냠len 제데 두바다 디데 소나 퀄리티 렌타다 테기미로서 못 켄직 손
알데 데데다데 가서 라세야들 소소비야 샤저 람저 용아 아니야 되고 저서 샤야 저 드려 빵부 소리고 뭐 이제 내가 가서 시고 가라면 코이니가 슈자스 가야 말아
아니 데다 단단하다 다 이담 라 콤바이네 소소지 겨원 냠len 제네 라리아 케다 디 시고로
다 되게다 로아샤 페도샤디야
So, Geshe says, I mean, from Buddhist point of view, right, even this thing, that any notion of a God, we call it, right, as a creator, that's like a permanent, partless, something entity, that's not accepted in Buddhist discourses at all, right? But then, in Buddhism, we do talk about a lot of small g gods, right, those little g gods there. They are called devatas, right, devis. And so they have many types of forms. Many of them, we seek help from them, right? We said we all, just help protect me, right, from obstacles, things like that. But then at the same time, the real responsibility falls on ourselves, right, to care for ourselves, protect ourselves. But then also we cultivate yidams, meditational deities, right, higher level enlightened being. So that also is based upon one's own practice and right growth and everything else, right? But all of them are not regarded as a creator of everything or a permanent or something. Right? Hopefully that answers your question, somebody.
Is created God a mere appearance to the mind? What is that? Is created God a mere appearance to the mind?
Okay.
Is created God a mere appearance to the mind? Do Buddhists accept, which means the conventionally existent God? Do Buddhists accept the conventional existence of the mind as a mere appearance of the mind?
This word, the Nangbe Tebena, Jidin Cheba Bokunjo Second Jerovage, and the Kasawata Tanya Lola Nawa Rovage, Nama Dugurevesa, Tana Loma Nama Devina, and Ko Yoba killing Marosa, Tanyeda.
지제 시바 보고서 남배 시바 보고서 사실이고 말이
맞다. killing the lover again that Tanya Lola Jidin Cheba Bokunjo Second Nama Dugurevesa Rovage. 타니에 시에바 라게 남기로하게 품반나무는 군조 생에 집어라게 남기 여베이나 안직된 거버버 세겐지 여버치 타니에도 여버치 켈링거 말외사게
거버버 켈링 고조 주제 거버버 자도 남바산 켈링
말게 디티와데 지된 거버버 켈링 말랍산이로하게 이네 넘버 시에블로하게 타니에 시에발로 직된 거버버 세겐지 남과치 로와 직된 거버버 타니에 시에발로 남과치로하게 Degree Maravesa.
Did Tashi Shiva
That's good one. And now we get to that. Sometimes it takes a while. That's why. Sorry, I'm being disrespectful. I have to speak too loud so that. Geshe says, from Buddhist point of view, right, does God appear to our perception, right? So we do not accept that God appears to a valid perception. If we accept that, then we accept conventionally God exists. So Buddhists don't accept that. Right. Right, yeah.
That means God is not a mere appearance to the mind.
Right, yeah. That's what, yeah. Right, yeah. So he just want to say, look, right, it's non-existent, right. If it appears to a valid perception, appears, right, God, then we have accepted it exists, right? Yeah. So that, I think, answers well. Okay, so we'll stop there today, and to be continued. So I don't have any special prayer requests today, so we can skip that part. Of course, we always pray for everybody who needs prayers. We have a small booklet in your hand, like a page color, so we have some prayer there. So it's this booklet. On page 3, Lord Gyaltsen, Udrum, Begate, Geshe Phuntsok Gyeltsen, Minbas, Tenba Zinla, Wando Jichu, Danyan Chogun Chola, Sowa, de page 5. Mawa Dame, Gunjen Donga, Kanre Jonso, Ninda Seze, Jamgan Jawa, Niwa, Yapse, Zhangson, Geze, Mare, Shiva, Tenzin Dorjee, Jingo, Zebe, Xinjie, Nengun, Zhangzhou, Tendu, Longdo, Tangzhe, Pei, Peiyue, Deja, Jiazi, Guando, Shabde, Tesan, Guantan, Cheze, Zombe, Yongzo, Yure, Tobe, Nyabi, Longre, Dejen, Nebe, Peden, Tode, Ganle, Dabo, Shabde, Sho, Dona, Guame, Zeba, Nanda, Tendang, Zhove, Pende, Zhombe, She, Renzo, Jumi, Chebe, Geshe Dorjee, Jendo, Shabde, Sho, Jizi, Lame, Toge, Melang, Geshe Dorjee, Tendang, Zangme, Shosho, Shodo, Jido, Zomba, Jida, Mebe, Dungan, Lundu, Sho. Page 9. Ramjan Shinge, Gombo, Zeba, Me, Jodo, Namje, Jeyon, Jema, Choje, Zeye, Lazo, Tanje, Tade, Meshe, Choge, Mojo, Tode, Jedan, Losan, Jawa, Ye, Shedro, Temban, Zebe, Beye, Tande, Deje, Jungre, Shinye, Cho, Yangre, Nije, Wombo, Sowa, Jide, Songre, Chana, Peme, Jo, Dembe, Zawa, Suzo, Tabai, Nanda, Zuje, Yanda, Lamba, Losan, Jede, Bedo, Shade, Tunjo, Jaje, Nonze, Yangbe, Sanjo, Nanje, Sanze, Jumbe, Bonjo, Shela, Sonjo, Jebe, Dembe, Manda, Chembo, Shade, Jebe, Dongwa, Kowa, Bojo, Jebe, Rila, Sebe, Bonja, Jebe, Dende, Leshe, Zhangcha, Pedro, Shinye, Chembo, Shade, Sho, Jebe, Landa, Kasha, Zeta, Jebe, Chala, Nyezo, Raza, Samben, Deje, Rekun, Yeshe, No, Sonde, Shinye, Chembo, Shade, Tesan, Jula, Jabe, Tende, Menjo, Naje, Zanje, Seje, Lajen, Zeje, Tendo, Beshawe, Sende, Shinye, Chembo, Shade, Shozon, Jawa, Seje, Chelada, Toden, Tanje, Some, Teleje, Daja, Lasa, Dabe, Tendo, Chita, Mebe, Tengun, Lundu, Sho, Changjo, Simjo, Rimbo, Maje, Badan, Jeju, Jawa, Nyamba, Meba, Yang, Gone, Gondo, Pewa, Sho, Dongni, Dawa, Rimbo, Maje, Badan, Jeju, Jawa, Nyamba, Meba, Gone, Gondo, Pewa, Sho, Sa, Shi, Peje, Joshe, Medo, Rara, Leje, Nyende, Yembande, Sanje, Shendo, Minde, Bewa, Logan, Nanda, Shinla, Jeba, Sho, Kanri, Rave, Koye, Shenganza, Pendan, Dewa, Mali, Jombe, Shere, Zewan, Tenzin, Jazo, Shabe, Sede, Pado, Tenjo, Ji, Yedam, Goro, Rana, Mandela, Neya, Daya, Min, Jawa, Gwendo, Yanda, Lama, Dan, Deme, Sheje, Bela, Lonje, Lada, Lanje, Yende, Razo, Nen, Doje, Jange, Gobo, Nyo,